Let's be honest, you own the most powerful and complex machine on the entire planet, your brain. And today, we're going to pop the hood and open up the user manual. You might think it's all fixed hardware, but nope, it's actually programmable software. And right now, we're going to learn how to write the code.
Oh man, how many times have we all heard this? Maybe we've even said it ourselves, right? That feeling that our brains just kind of get locked in, that at a certain point, we just are who we are, and that's it. Well, it turns out that's one of the biggest myths out there, and the science is here to just completely blow it out of the water. For the longest time, we thought the brain was like a stone tablet. It gets carved up early in life and then it's set. It's fixed forever. But the reality is so much cooler. Your brain isn't stone at all. It's more like Play-Doh. It's plastic, it's malleable, and it is constantly being reshaped by your thoughts, your actions, and your experiences, right up until your very last day. So let's dive into the first chapter of our manual. We got to understand the fundamental principle that makes all this change even possible. And listen, this isn't some abstract theory. This is the core operating system of your mind. The fancy scientific name for this whole thing is neuroplasticity. But all it really means is that your brain has this incredible ability to reorganize itself. It's constantly forming new connections in response to everything you do, especially learning. So you're not just taking in information, you are literally physically changing the structure of your brain. So, how does this reprogramming actually work? Well, it all boils down to this one simple, really elegant rule called Hebb's Law. Think about it. Every time you have a thought, or learn a new chord on the guitar, or try a dance move, a specific set of neurons fires off. The more they fire together in that same sequence, the stronger their connection gets. They literally wire themselves together, which makes that thought or action way easier and more automatic the next time. But hold on, before we can start installing all these new programs, we've got to prep the hardware first, right? You can't grow an amazing garden on barren, rocky soil. In the same way, you can't form strong new connections in a brain that isn't ready for them. So let's look at how we create the most fertile ground possible. Okay, a huge part of that fertile ground is this protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like Miracle-Gro for your mind. It keeps your existing neurons healthy, and, this is the crucial part, it actually encourages the growth of brand new ones. So how do we get more of this amazing brain fertilizer? Well, the science is super clear on this. Intense exercise, like high-intensity interval training, is one of the best ways to trigger a big release of BDNF. But also, just regular aerobic activity and, of course, getting a solid night's sleep are absolutely essential for keeping your brain primed and ready for growth. And it's not just what you do inside your body. Your brain is also being shaped by the world around you. What scientists call an enriched environment, one that's full of new things, new places, new people, has been proven to physically increase the density of connections in your brain. This means getting out of your routine isn't just fun. It's a way to literally build a better, stronger brain. Okay, so our hardware is prepped, the soil is fertilized. Now it's time to actually run the learning program. And as you're about to see, this requires a very specific kind of effort. It's not about grinding for hours and hours. Here's a total game changer. Your brain doesn't operate like a marathon runner. It's a sprinter. We all function in these natural cycles of about 90 minutes, and they're called ultracranian rhythms. So if you want to maximize learning, you have to lean into this. Go for an intense 90-minute sprint of pure focus. And then, this is just as important, take a real break to recover. During that 90-minute sprint, something incredible happens chemically. That intense focus triggers the release of a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. And what it does is it acts like a chemical highlighter pen. It sprays onto the exact neurons you're using at that moment, and it basically tells your brain, hey, pay attention, this connection right here is super important, mark this one for strengthening later on. Now, this next part might sound completely backward, but it's maybe the most important piece of the puzzle. The key ingredient in that focused learning sprint is failure. Seriously, that feeling of frustration isn't a sign that you're failing to learn. It is the feeling of learning. Mistakes are the actual signal that tells your brain it's time to change. So let's look at what's actually happening under the hood. The moment you make a mistake, your brain releases a jolt of epinephrine, that's adrenaline, which makes you suddenly very alert. Then it releases that chemical highlighter we talked about, acetylcholine, to mark the exact circuit that messed up. That little chemical tag is basically a to-do note for your brain that says, hey, fix this connection tonight while we're sleeping. Which brings us to the most overlooked part of learning.
You can do all the focused work in the world, but if you don't properly save your progress, it all just disappears. It's like typing out a whole essay and then just yanking the power cord out of the wall. Poof, gone. So, what's the most critical button in this whole user manual? It's right here. It's the save button, and that save button is sleep. The single most important thing you can do to make learning stick is to get a good night's sleep. This isn't just downtime. It's an active, absolutely essential process for your brain. While you're sleeping, your brain is hard at work. It's running a process called systems consolidation. It actually replays the patterns of what you learned during the day, but get this, it does it at something like 20 times the normal speed. And during this high-speed replay, it moves those new memories from the fragile, short-term storage area called the hippocampus to the permanent, long-term hard drive of your neocortex. Okay, so you've saved the new connection. It's there, but how do you make it fast? How do you make it efficient and automatic? How do you go from consciously stumbling through a new skill to just doing it without even thinking? The answer is a process called myelination. Myelin is basically a fatty insulation that wraps around your neural wires. And here's the cool part. Every single time you repeat a skill, you add another layer of this insulation. This doesn't just strengthen the connection, it dramatically speeds up the signal. So practice doesn't just make perfect, practice makes permanent by building up this biological insulation. But to build that myelin, we have to fight against our brain's natural tendency, which is this, the forgetting curve. We've all felt this, right? Our brains are literally designed to forget stuff that isn't revisited. It's why cramming for a test is such a bad strategy in the long run. The secret is to review the information at just the right moments, at spaced intervals, right as you're about to forget it. That forces the pathway to fire again, and bam, it gets another layer of myelin. So, let's zoom out. We've walked through the manual. We now know for a fact that our brain isn't some fixed piece of stone. It is programmable software. And the absolute best part? You're the programmer. You have the tools to take control and direct its growth. So if you're only going to take 3 things away from all of this, make it these 3. First, work in those intense 90-minute focus sprints to get that chemical highlighter working for you. Second, treat sleep like it's the non-negotiable save button for your mind, because it is. And third, learn to see that feeling of frustration and making mistakes not as failure, but as the actual biological signal that you're on the right track for growth. So the old myths are gone. You know that change isn't just possible, it's literally how you're built to operate. So the only question left is the one right there on your screen. You have the instruction manual in your hands. So what new skill? What new habit? What new version of yourself